Hello and welcome to Daily Records. I am Tommy Burton, and today we're going to be talking about a controversial album, jazz album. This is Miles Davis, Bitches Brew, the directions and music by Miles Davis. Like I said, released on March 30th, 1970. This album, when it came out, turned more than a few heads because it was just so different and highly experimental, and caused quite a stir in the jazz world when it came out, because it really was building upon what Miles had been doing, working with electric instruments, also working with some more rock-based jazz musicians. Of course, this was built on the foundation he started with in a Silent Way, which was a previous album. And so he was bringing in like electric piano, guitar, and he was doing away with sort of the traditional swingy jazz music, and he was working more into sort of this rock type improv thing, more jamming. And because it was so unconventional and so different, it really had mixed responses when it came out. However, it was very successfully commercially. I think a lot of rock audiences really identified with it, and now it's kind of gone on to be regarded as one of the great jazz albums of all time. Certainly for jazz rock, it was a big, and it's been very influential in a lot of rock and funk circles. It did win a Grammy for Best Large Ensemble Jazz Album in '71. And if you really want to get nuts, there is a 4-disc set, the complete sessions. And it's, I had that set at one point, and I think I got rid of it. It's just nothing I would listen to on a regular basis. But as an album, I mean, it's very interesting and certainly worthy of the status it's received. It was recorded over the course of 3 days in August of 1969 at Columbia Studios, and Miles called the musicians in very short notice. Very, very little rehearsal was done before the recording actually took place. And so the musicians were really on their toes. And there was not very many instructions. There was like a tempo count, maybe a few chords, or maybe just a hint of melody and just sort of suggestions. So Miles Davis was just kind of saying, do your thing and follow your muse. Now, there are some quiet moments, and if you listen to those quieter moments on the record, you can hear Miles Davis giving cues, snapping fingers, trying to give tempos and things like that, and sort of saying, keep it tight. When he was telling the individuals to solo, you can hear the voice, which is really interesting. All the compositions are credited to Miles Davis. Now, there are a couple of exceptions to that. Pharaoh's Dance, a track on here, composed by Joe Zawinul, who would later go on to be in Weather Report. And then Sanctuary, which is a ballad, was written by Wayne Shorter. And it was a song that had been recorded before, kind of straightforward, but by the time it got to these sessions, it was drastically reworked. Miles Davis, Chick Corea is on this album, pianist or keyboardist playing there. And Wayne Shorter was a good collaborator for Miles in the sense that he provided some good material going back to Nefertiti, which was a previous release for Miles. A lot of Miles' own trumpet playing on this album was really aggressive. It was really kind of in your face. And so it was a little bit of a shock to people that were kind of more used to Miles being sort of cool and mellow with this sound. But again, the album really just turned a lot of heads when it came out. It was very, very different. Now, a lot of the things you hear on here, besides Miles Davis trumpet, you hear the soprano sax. Wayne Shorter, again, playing that. The bass clarinet is quite present on a few tracks. That's Benny Maupin playing that. And so Miles was definitely into expanding the jazz palette at this point, and with mixed results. Does it hold up? I'm not sure. It's an interesting listen, and I know this album has its fans. I'm in the middle on it. It's not one I go to on a regular basis. I do prefer Miles Davis 60s material, the cool period. But I appreciate this stuff. It's very, and like I said, you could hear it show up in later people, like Prince, for example, took a lot from what Miles was doing during this time period. So certainly an influential album, and as well as controversial. Today's Daily Record, Bitches Brew by Miles Davis. Like, comment, subscribe, share, follow me on Instagram and Twitter. It's TommyBurton75. What do you think about this album? In the meantime, I'll see you all again tomorrow with another Daily Record.